I never thought a man could destroy everything I worked so hard to build in just a few months. But Victor did exactly that. And he did it with a smile on his face. My name is Loyce. I'm 27 years old and have lived in the UK for almost 8 years. I arrived here on a student visa, struggled through college, worked 2 jobs, and finally, after endless stress and waiting, got my indefinite leave to remain. That's what we call papers, the official proof that I'm allowed to live and work here forever. I had my life planned, a steady job as a nurse, my own apartment in Birmingham, a few close friends, and dreams of building a family one day. But all that changed the moment I met Victor. It started during my trip back home to Nigeria for my cousin's wedding. I hadn't been home for 3 years. I was excited to see my family, eat jollof rice until I was full, and maybe find a break from the cold, rainy UK weather. Victor was introduced to me as a friend of the groom, tall, confident, and charming in a way I hadn't seen in a while. His smile was sharp, his words smooth, and his eyes had a strange hunger, like he was sizing me up for something. At first, I ignored the way he watched me. I was there to enjoy my family, not to entertain a stranger's attention. But Victor was persistent. He was at every gathering, always finding a way to be near me. He listened when I spoke about my life in the UK, how I had worked hard to get my papers, and how much I missed my home. "Loyce, you are lucky. You have what so many people only dream of," he said one evening, his voice low and sincere. "I wish I could be there with you. A man like me doesn't get chances like that." I laughed. "You have your own life here, don't you?" "Not really. Lagos is full of noise and struggle. I want more than that. A fresh start. Maybe with you." I told myself he was just flattering me, that he was playing a game, but his words stuck with me. Over the next few weeks, Victor and I grew closer. Our talks stretched into the early mornings, and he sent messages every day after I returned to the UK. He called me his queen, promised me a better life, and talked about marriage as if it were destiny. "I want us to be together," he said on a late-night call. "You have your papers. I want to be with you there. Build a future. We'll be a family." I was cautious but lonely. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe love could still find me. Against the advice of my friends, I said yes to his proposal. We married in a simple ceremony in Nigeria 6 months later. I returned to the UK and immediately started the process to bring Victor here on a spousal visa. I paid for every part of the application, the lawyer, the medical exams, the paperwork. I was proud to do it. It felt like building a new life with him. When Victor arrived in Birmingham, the first few weeks were a dream. He was attentive, loving, and grateful. He cooked Nigerian dishes, made tea in the mornings, and held my hand when I was tired from work. "I'll never forget what you did for me," he said one night, looking deep into my eyes. "You saved me." But then the cracks began to show. He started going out late at night, claiming he was meeting business contacts. Calls came less and less, and when I tried to ask, he snapped. "Don't be jealous," he said. "I'm not your prisoner." Then the lies started. One night I saw his phone light up with a message. "When will she leave again?" "Miss you." When I confronted him, he grabbed the phone, eyes flashing. "Why are you snooping?" "I wasn't, it just lit up." "You're crazy," he spat. "Maybe marrying you was a mistake." Years passed with fights, cold silences, and broken promises. Then one morning, I came home from a long shift to find our apartment empty. Victor was gone. No note, no call, nothing. I called his phone non-stop, no answer. And then, the worst letter arrived. A letter from the Home Office. Notification of marriage breakdown, withdrawal of spouse visa. I found out that as soon as he got his papers, he reported to the Home Office that our marriage was fake, that I had forced him into it and that he never planned to live with me. By doing this, he withdrew his support for my visa, and just like that, my indefinite leave to remain was thrown into jeopardy. They said my residency status was under review. I was to report for an urgent interview. I sat frozen, the cold spreading in my chest. The man I trusted had used me. He got what he wanted, his papers in the UK, and then threw me away like trash. But Victor made a big mistake. He thought I'd go quietly. He thought I'd let him win. He doesn't know I have proof. Texts, calls, witnesses. I'm gathering everything to fight back. To fight for my life here, my dignity, and the truth. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the floor, staring at the letter in my hands. Everything felt unreal, like I had stepped into a bad Nollywood movie. I kept reading the words over and over again. Marriage breakdown, sponsorship withdrawn, residency under review. Residency under review? But I had indefinite leave to remain. I worked, paid taxes, followed every rule. How could one man's lie shake my entire life? I called Kate, my closest friend. She answered immediately, as if she had been waiting. "Loyce," she said, her voice tight. "What happened?" I told her everything. She was silent for a moment. Then she whispered, "This man is evil." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "He lied to immigration, Kate. He set me up. I don't even know how to prove otherwise." "Yes, you do," she said. "You have messages, calls, your wedding photos, his voice notes, the gifts you sent, bank transfers, all of it. You think they'll believe me? They have to. This is your life, Loyce. You've worked too hard to let it end like this." That night, I began gathering everything. I printed chats from WhatsApp, downloaded voice notes, searched my email for receipts, flight bookings, money transfers to Nigeria. Anything that showed this wasn't a fake marriage. Anything that proved I loved him, truly. And he had planned this betrayal all along. But the worst part, he didn't just vanish. He began posting on Instagram. There he was, smiling in designer jackets, captioning photos with, "God's timing is perfect." One even read, "UK boys don't land. God no go shame us." I felt bile rise in my throat. He hadn't just used me. He was mocking me. Then came the real blow. A woman messaged me anonymously. No profile picture, no name. "Hi, I thought you should know. Victor has been living with another woman since he moved out. She thinks they're engaged. Be careful. He's not done ruining people." I sat there shaking. So it was true. The side chick, the texts, the late nights. Everything had been planned. I went to my immigration interview shaking. The officer, a middle-aged woman with a firm face and soft eyes, asked me to explain what happened. "I loved him," I began. And then I told her everything. I told her how we met in Nigeria, how he begged me to help him come to the UK, how I paid for everything, how he changed once he arrived, how he moved out, filed lies with immigration, and left me broken. I showed her messages, bank transfers, photos, even the audio recording of him saying, "I'll never forget what you did for me." The woman listened. She didn't smile, but she didn't stop me either. When I finished, she looked me in the eye and said, "Thank you for coming forward, Miss Loyce. We will investigate this thoroughly." I nodded, but inside, I was falling apart. Weeks passed. Each day felt like a countdown to something I couldn't name. I started getting calls from mutual friends in Nigeria. "Loyce," one said quietly, "Victor's family knew. They were all in on it. He told them you were his ticket out. They said he would find a better woman here." A better woman? Tears burned in my eyes, but I didn't cry. I went to work. I smiled at patients. I cooked food I couldn't eat. I forced myself to function because I didn't come this far to be destroyed. Then one morning, the call came. "Miss Loyce," the voice on the phone said. "Yes? This is Officer Green from the Home Office. We've reviewed your case." My heart raced. "We've determined that there is sufficient evidence to support that your marriage was entered into in good faith. and that you were not complicit in any deception. Your indefinite leave remains valid. I froze. You're saying I'm not being deported? That's correct. You are safe to remain in the UK. I dropped the phone and burst into tears, loud, shaking sobs that came from every corner of my soul. I wasn't just crying from relief, I was crying because I had survived. But this story isn't over. Because Victor is still out there. And I have one last thing left to do. Victor didn't know I had survived. He probably thought I was curled up in a detention cell somewhere, crying and begging immigration not to deport me. He didn't know the Home Office saw through his lies. He didn't know I had built my case like a fortress. But most importantly, he didn't know I was about to return the favor. 2 weeks after that call from the immigration office, I started putting things in motion. I didn't want revenge. I wanted accountability. Victor had left a digital trail of arrogance, bragging online, throwing shade, flaunting his new life like he had climbed some moral ladder. And his new girlfriend. I sent her a message, a real one, from my real account, with screenshots, bank transfers, wedding photos, visa receipts with his name. Voice notes with him saying, "Baby, don't worry. Once I get there, everything will be fine. I will never leave you." She blocked me, but a week later I saw her post, a black screen with white letters. Some men are devils in human form. I smiled, but that wasn't enough. I reported Victor to the UKVI fraud unit. I uploaded the same files I had sent to defend myself, but this time I filed them under a marriage for immigration benefit scheme. The twist? I was now a witness, not the accused, and I had evidence. So much evidence. I also contacted a solicitor, not for my immigration, but for damages, emotional, financial, psychological. I had receipts for the thousands I spent on his visa, his flights, his clothes, his life. My lawyer smiled as she flipped through the file I brought. "He messed with the wrong woman," she said. "I know," I replied. Victor had built his life on fraud, lied on documents, lied under oath, faked love to get a visa, and once the Home Office realized that, not only would they revoke his visa, they would blacklist him from future applications, and possibly charge him. That was when the final blow came. I was at work, changing into my uniform, when Kate burst in, holding her phone like it was on fire. "Loyce, it's happening! Look!" There it was, a notice from UKVI, publicly confirming an investigation into fraudulent spousal visa abuse involving a Nigerian national. No names, but I didn't need them to tell me. I knew. I heard later that Victor received a visit from immigration officers. Someone said they showed up at the shortlet he was renting in London. He tried to play innocent. A month later, his social media accounts went quiet. The same man who used to post 5 times a day had vanished. No stories, no brags, just silence. Then I got a text. Unknown number. "You did this to me." I stared at it for a long time, and then I replied, "No, Victor, you did this to yourself." I blocked the number. Today, I still walk the same streets, still go to work, still laugh with Kate on weekends, but something in me has changed. Not bitterness, power. I know now that love isn't blind. It's just trusting, and sometimes that trust falls into the wrong hands. But I survived, and I'm still standing. Victor thought he could use me as a ladder, but I turned it into the wall he couldn't climb. Thanks for watching.